The letter lay unopened in Emma's trembling hands, and when she finally broke the seal, everything stopped. What started as Ellen's regular Friday show was about to become the most heartbreaking love story ever told between the living and the dead. 24-year-old Emma Rodriguez sat in the front row of Ellen's studio, clutching a military envelope that had arrived 6 months ago, but remained sealed. Her wedding ring caught the studio lights as her fingers traced the familiar handwriting that spelled out her name in Michael's careful script. Beside her sat Rosa Rodriguez, Michael's mother, who had made the difficult decision to contact Ellen's producers after watching her daughter-in-law retreat deeper into grief each day. She'd found Emma one morning, holding the letter and crying, unable to break the seal that would make her husband's death feel final. Ellen was finishing her opening monologue when she noticed Emma in the audience, immediately drawn to the young woman's obvious pain and the letter she held like a lifeline. "I can see we have someone very special with us today," Ellen said, approaching their section. Emma looked up with eyes that carried the weight of 6 months of widow's grief, her voice barely audible when she spoke. "Ellen, I don't know if I can do this." Ellen knelt down beside Emma's chair, recognizing immediately that she was in the presence of profound loss and love. "Emma, Rosa told me about Michael and about the letter you've been carrying." Rosa reached over and took Emma's free hand, providing the support that had sustained them both through the darkest months of their lives. "Emma hasn't been able to read Michael's last letter since it arrived from Afghanistan." Ellen felt her heart immediately respond to the situation, understanding that this young woman was frozen between hope and acceptance. "Emma, can you tell me about Michael?" "He was everything good in this world," Emma replied, her voice growing stronger as she spoke about the man she'd loved. "We got married 2 years ago, right before his deployment. He promised me he'd come home," Emma continued, tears beginning to flow as she remembered their last conversation. "He said he had so many things he wanted to tell me when he got back." Ellen's expression grew tender as she realized the depth of love and loss this young woman was carrying. "Emma, when did you receive the letter?" "The day after the military came to tell me he was gone," Emma said, her voice breaking at the memory. "I knew if I opened it, it would be like saying goodbye forever." Rosa spoke up, adding context that helped Ellen understand the full scope of Emma's struggle with grief. "She hasn't been able to eat, sleep, or function normally since Michael died. The letter is all I have left that's new from him," Emma explained, her reasoning heartbreaking in its logic. "Once I read it, there will be nothing left to discover. No more words from him." Ellen stood up slowly, processing the impossible position grief had put this young woman in between holding on and letting go. "Emma, what do you think Michael would want you to do?" "He'd want me to read it," Emma admitted through her tears, knowing the truth even as she struggled to act on it. "He'd probably be frustrated that I've waited so long." Ellen sat down on the floor beside Emma, creating an intimate space within the larger studio setting. "What are you afraid the letter will say?" "Goodbye," Emma whispered, the word carrying all the finality she'd been avoiding for 6 months. "I'm afraid it will be his way of telling me to move on without him." The studio fell completely silent as the audience understood they were witnessing someone struggle with the deepest kind of love and loss. Ellen wiped away her own tears as she prepared to help this young woman face her greatest fear. "Emma, what if it's not goodbye?" Ellen asked gently, offering a different perspective on what the letter might contain. "What if it's something else entirely?" Emma looked at Ellen with hope and terror warring in her expression, torn between wanting to believe and fearing disappointment. "I don't know how to find out without risking everything." Ellen made a decision that would transform this moment from private grief into shared healing. "Emma, would you like me to be here with you when you read it?" "You would do that?" Emma asked with surprise, not having expected this level of support from someone she'd just met. "You'd help me read Michael's letter?" Ellen reached out and gently took Emma's hands, letter and all, in a gesture of complete solidarity. "Emma, some moments are too important to face alone." Rosa nodded encouragingly, having hoped for exactly this kind of support for her daughter-in-law, who had been isolating herself in grief. "Michael would want you to have people around you who care." Emma looked around the studio, seeing hundreds of faces, offering silent support for her moment of truth. "I think I'm ready, but I'm scared of how much it might hurt." Ellen addressed the audience directly, preparing them for the sacred nature of what was about to unfold. Everyone, we're about to witness something very private and very beautiful. Emma is going to read a letter from her husband Michael, who died serving our country 6 months ago. Ellen continued, her voice carrying the gravity of the moment. This is his final message to the woman he loved. Emma's hands shook as she finally broke the seal that had protected her from finality for half a year. The envelope opened easily, as if it had been waiting patiently for this moment. Inside was a single sheet of military letterhead covered in Michael's familiar handwriting, the same script that had filled their text messages and love notes. Emma unfolded it carefully, treating each movement like a sacred ritual. "Would you like me to read it with you?" Ellen offered, understanding that sometimes shared burden makes impossible tasks manageable. "Or would you prefer to read it yourself?" "I think I need to read it myself," Emma decided, her voice gaining strength from the support surrounding her. "But will you stay right here with me?" Ellen positioned herself beside Emma, close enough to provide comfort, but respecting the intimacy between wife and husband's final words. "I'm not going anywhere." Emma took a deep breath and began to read silently, her eyes moving across Michael's words as her expression shifted through multiple emotions. The studio waited in respectful silence as she processed her husband's final message. After several minutes, Emma looked up with tears streaming down her face. But something had changed in her expression. "It's not what I expected," she said with wonder and relief evident in her voice. "What does it say?" Ellen asked gently, giving Emma the choice of how much to share with the audience. "Only tell us what you're comfortable sharing." Emma wiped her eyes and looked down at the letter again, as if confirming what she'd read. "He didn't say goodbye. Instead of goodbye, he wrote about all the reasons he was fighting to come home to me," Emma continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "He wrote about our future, about the children we wanted to have, about growing old together." Ellen felt her own emotions overwhelming her as she understood the gift Michael had given his wife in his final letter. "Emma, would you like to share any specific parts with us?" Emma nodded, finding courage in the love that filled every line of Michael's message. He wrote, "My beautiful Emma, by the time you read this, my mission will be over, but my love for you will have just begun its real journey." The audience collectively held their breath as they heard these words from beyond, spoken by a man who had known he might not return. Ellen wiped away tears as she listened to this final declaration of love. "I need you to know that every day I spent loving you was worth a lifetime." Emma continued reading aloud, "And if something happens to me, I don't want you to think of it as an ending." Emma's voice grew stronger as she read her husband's words, finding strength in the love he'd left behind for her. "I want you to think of it as me loving you so much that I'll find a way to keep doing it even from heaven." Ellen was openly crying now, overwhelmed by the beauty and selflessness of Michael's final message to his wife. "Emma, there's more." "He wrote instructions," Emma said with a mixture of tears and laughter, so characteristic of the practical man she'd married. "He told me specific things to do when I missed him." "Like what?" Ellen asked, fascinated by this soldier's thoughtful preparation for his wife's grief. "What kind of instructions did he leave?" "He said when I miss him, I should go to our favorite restaurant and order for both of us," Emma shared, smiling through her tears. "And then tell the waiter that my husband is running late, but will be there in spirit." The audience was emotionally invested in every word as they learned about Michael's creative ways of staying present in Emma's life. Ellen marveled at the thoughtfulness of a man facing his own mortality. "He also said I should wear his cologne sometimes because he wanted me to remember how it felt to be close to him," Emma continued, revealing the intimate nature of Michael's planning, "and he left me a list of movies to watch on hard days." Ellen stood up, needing a moment to process the extraordinary love story she was witnessing unfold through a dead man's letter. "Emma, is there more?" "The end is the most beautiful part," Emma said, preparing to share the words that would stay with everyone in that studio forever. "He wrote about how love doesn't end when life does." Ellen felt anticipation building as Emma prepared to share the culmination of Michael's final message to his beloved wife. "Will you read us the ending?" Emma stood up, holding the letter with reverence as she prepared to share her husband's final words with the world. Michael wrote, "Emma, my love, if you're reading this, It means my time as your husband on earth is over, but my time as your guardian angel is just beginning." The studio was completely silent, except for the sound of tears and tissues, as everyone processed the profound beauty of these words. Ellen felt honored to witness such pure love transcending death itself. "I will be in every sunrise that reminds you that each day is a gift," Emma continued, her voice clear and strong. "I will be in every song that makes you smile, every flower that blooms in our garden, every star you wish upon." Ellen realized she was witnessing something that transcended television or entertainment. This was a masterclass in how love survives death. Michael's words were teaching everyone present about the eternal nature of true connection. "But most importantly," Emma read, approaching the letter's powerful conclusion, "I will be in your heart every time you choose love over fear, hope over despair, and life over simply existing." The audience was completely absorbed in Michael's message, understanding they were hearing wisdom from someone who had faced mortality with grace. Ellen felt privileged to be present for this moment of profound communication between soulmates. Emma took a deep breath before reading the final paragraph that would change her understanding of widowhood forever. And then he wrote the last part. Ellen positioned herself closer to Emma, sensing that the conclusion would require additional support for both the reader and the audience. "Take your time, Emma. My darling Emma, if you're reading this, know that I'm still beside you," Emma read, her voice filled with wonder at her husband's final gift. "Death cannot separate what love has united. I'll be waiting for you. But don't hurry. Live every moment twice, once for you and once for me." Ellen felt the full impact of Michael's words hitting everyone in the studio like a physical force of love and hope. These weren't just the words of a dying man. They were the promises of a love that transcended physical existence. "Until we meet again, keep loving, keep living, and keep believing that some things are stronger than death. I love you forever and a day beyond forever. Your devoted husband, Michael," Emma finished, holding the letter against her heart. The studio erupted in the kind of applause that comes from witnessing something sacred rather than entertaining. Ellen embraced Emma as they both cried tears of sorrow and celebration for a love so pure it had conquered death itself. "Emma," Ellen said when they finally pulled apart, "Michael's letter isn't a goodbye. It's a love letter to your future." Emma nodded, understanding for the first time that her husband's death wasn't the end of their love story, but its transformation into something eternal. Ellen addressed the audience as she tried to process what everyone had just experienced together. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've just witnessed proof that true love never dies, it just changes form." As the segment reached its conclusion, Ellen realized that Michael's letter had taught everyone present about the difference between love and possession. His message had been about freeing Emma to live fully while remaining connected to their eternal bond. Ellen's closing words that day became a comfort to grieving families everywhere. Love doesn't end when life does. It simply begins its most important work. Michael's letter became a beacon of hope for military families and anyone facing the loss of their greatest love. 6 months later, Emma returned to Ellen's show to share how Michael's letter had changed her approach to widowhood and grief. She had started a foundation helping military spouses cope with loss using the wisdom Michael had shared. "The most amazing thing," Emma told Ellen during her return visit, "is that I feel closer to Michael now than I did when I was afraid to read his letter." His words had given her permission to live fully while maintaining their eternal connection. Ellen kept a copy of Michael's letter in her desk drawer, reading it whenever she needed a reminder about the power of love to transcend any limitation. His words had touched millions of viewers and redefined how people thought about love and loss. The foundation Emma established in Michael's honor helped thousands of military families understand that love continues beyond physical presence. His letter had become a template for how to love someone enough to set them free while remaining eternally connected. Because sometimes the most powerful love letters are written by those who understand that true love isn't about possession, but about empowerment. Michael Rodriguez had proven that the greatest gift we can give someone we love is the freedom to live fully in our absence, knowing we remain present in their heart forever. The envelope that had seemed so threatening when sealed became Emma's most treasured possession when opened. Inside had been not an ending but a beginning, Not a goodbye, but a promise that some bonds are indeed stronger than death itself.